lovely crowd. I hope you had a great lunch. So, if I were to come to you and give you a disposable camera, okay, and ask you to take a picture of an object that you value, something that has meaning to you, and then write 2 sentences about it, what object would you choose? That is exactly what I did around 15 years ago, back when I was doing my bachelor's in graphic design at AUB. I took all those cameras, I gave them to people around me, so it was students, professors, friends and family, and I asked them to take pictures of objects that had meaning to them. And then I asked them to write 2 sentences about that object. It could be their choice or why they decided to use it. And then I took those pictures, developed them, and gave them to other people, other subjects, and asked them to read into those objects. And the result was something like these. A whole lot of different things. Now remember, this was 15 years ago. Look at the map. And in Lebanon, so some people valued this. The end result was a publication. And in it, I presented the items in that same order. So the objects were all in the middle, and then I got the writings on that object and the interpretations. And back at the end, sorry, this is a bit, let's do this. At the end, there was an index of all the 90 participants, and in it you see the picture of the person who took the object, and a little bit of information about them, so their age, their profession, and that date of the object was taken, and then who had read about their object. It was all like an interactive publication, really. And what that made me realize is that there's a big relation with the objects that we all own. We are surrounded by these objects, and whether they're useful, decorative, expensive, or everyday objects, we really try to use them to leave clues about ourselves. They are clues about our identities, about our culture, about our political ideologies and religious beliefs. So, going back to what Justine was talking about in the morning, this chair that belonged to his father, or that desk that they imported, we really are putting meaning into these objects. Last night, my husband told me, Nisreen, don't have, we're going to go for dinner at night at Mythos. It's a little Greek restaurant back in GLT. And so I automatically decided, okay, I'm not having lunch, I'm going to skip lunch. And I wanted to save, the whole experience of going to Mythos. Now, when I go there, I lose myself, typically because of the experience. If I was to dissect the experience, it would have been that burn, that pour, the sip, the breath, the art, the music, the smell. So it's putting all of these symbols together. And the reason why I lost myself in that space is because I trusted that space. We are relational beings. We cannot live alone. We need people to complement us. And what we look for is people we trust. Now when we find these people, what we are really looking for is an extension of ourselves. We're looking for people who are inspired by what inspires us. We're looking for people who see the light that we see and who value what we value. Now, if we put all of that into perspective, into objects, what we are trying to really do is do an extension of ourselves through symbols, symbols that reflect what we value. It's the words and the images and the whole expression and experience as extensions to ourselves and our beliefs. So when we are talking about furniture, it's not just furniture. It's an extension of ourselves. Despite, the production of the same item, production and everything, we still put value into these things. And this is, I don't know if some of you are familiar with the work of, so basically our objects make us and we make them. So I'm not sure if you're familiar with the designer Nada Dibis. Now Nada Dibis comes from Lebanese origins. She grew up in Japan. and then traveled back to the UK where she started her own furniture company. And then somehow ended up being in Lebanon 40 years later, and found that there is a lack in modern Middle Eastern furniture. So she started her own line, bringing together the East and the East. So it's the Far East with its minimalism, and the Middle East with its craftsmanship, using new technologies and new materials to create those lovely creations. Zainab al-Hashimi, on the other hand, she's an Emirati visual artist as well. She also takes things from the Emirati culture and everyday found objects and pop art, and puts new meaning to them, trying to spread the word beyond art so that it's available for the general public. Now, putting all of this into perspective, I'll take you back a few years back. Growing up in the Levant, and I'm not sure how many of you would relate to this, these were the typical homes in Lebanon or in Damascus or back home. So you'd enter into this entrance, it's quite lavish, and then there are multiple doors, of which two are always closed. These doors, which lead to the salon or the living room, were always kept for the adults. This is where you would have your guests, and it's always kept spick and span. Kids are not allowed in there. Sometimes on weekends you would have, breakfast at the dining table, but this was more a space kept for adults. The living room, or the TV room as it was dubbed, was the space where everything else took place. So this is where the children would sit, do their homework, eat, play, communicate together as a family. So the spaces were much more bigger, and it allowed for this dissection of spaces. However, nowadays, homes are no longer that. This little TV room is now an expansion of dining room slash TV room slash living room, with multiple usage. And that sometimes creates or created a bit of a dilemma for families on how to multifunction within one space in a way that was still kept clean, at least for the Arabic mentality. You still need to have those guests, but then it needs to be utilized by those little kids and be baby safe. So this was the dilemma that was facing some of my clients. And since IKEA was just recently launched the catalog with the theme of life with no expectations, I wanted to share some of those families' houses that we worked in and tell you a little bit more about them and what we started with and what we ended with as a project. So meet Lama, Rami, Tara, and Nadi. Lama is a TV presenter, and her husband works in IT securities. They have two little kids, and they had just moved houses from a bigger house, a 4-bedroom house, into a 2-bedroom apartment. And when they moved, they only took with them a couch and a dining room. And I'm sure you recognize those IKEA chairs. So it was quite bare. It did not reflect who they were as a family. It did not show their values, nor did it show any of their activities that they really enjoyed. So together we worked on. Lama was quite clear. She wanted more of a Scandic feel, quite clean. Something she could easily clean, with the kids around. Something safe and hypoallergenic. And so we gave her that space with a lot of soft furnishings, items that could easily be moved around when the children wanted to sit and play games, and a space where they could use both, but still be very easy to tidy up. So these are more images of the space. Again, real families, real homes. Then another family, Dora, Faisal, Kenza, and Raed. Dora is a university professor. She is Tunisian. She studied in France and then moved to Japan to do her PhD, where she learned the language. She lived there for 7 years. Faisal, on the other hand, is a Canadian. He comes from Pakistani origins, and they both met in Dubai over salsa classes. And then they have those beautiful 2 little children. In Dora's case, it was the opposite. They had moved from a small 2-bedroom apartment in downtown Dubai into a big 4-bedroom townhouse in Jumeirah. And unfortunately, they were living with bare furniture, and off boxes for at least 3 months before they had called me in. And they had tried their best, to work with the layout, but it was just not working for them. They even tried to put in happiness in their bedroom, but that was not working either. And so we worked together on an eclectic style to bring back, inject color from their cultures, using items, some of the items that they already had, but replacing others, using the carpets that they already used, and again, injecting lots and lots of color from their cultures, objects that they already owned, things that they had misused, and putting them into the correct work idea. Oh, and we used a lot of big baskets just to hide all those toys when needed, but they were for easy access as well for the kids. And now they have a beautiful bedroom that speaks serenity. Arib, Faisal, Mariam, and Nabil. So Arib is from Saudi, and Faisal Syrian. And again, they have 2 little kids. Luckily, this project started off with no furniture at all. They had just moved into a loft in Amar. And they quite knew that they wanted something to symbolize their backgrounds. So they wanted that Damascus feel. They wanted the handcraft. But again, they wanted things that were easy to sustain and to use around kids. So something that was not too expensive, yet was very functional. And this is what we gave them. An eclectic sort of feel with a lot of furnishings that are easy to clean and easy to sustain. Injected a lot of the items that they already had and had meaning to, and used these in the space. We even used that backgammon and board game, which they were no longer using, and just hung that on that double-walled space. And created beautiful Arabic Kufic canvases, they were like 1.5 meters each. Again, to extend on that loft space. The 4th family today is Vicky, Saeed, Kamal, and Yasmin. So Vicky is from the UK, she's an HR manager, and Saeed is Lebanese, and he's in IT as well. And they're 2 beautiful kids. Now, in this case, Vicky is the type of woman who's quite bubbly, but she was on the road all the time, dropping the kids at different activities after school, just like a lot of moms here in Dubai. And Saeed was always traveling. The kids, as I said, have a lot of activities, so karting and dance for the girl. And they were not spending as much time at home. They were having cookouts or dinners outside the home, although their house was a big villa in the ranches. And this is exactly why that was happening. It was quite dull. They only used this living room when watching the games, the football games. They never used the dining room. And the kitchen was quite chaotic. It was used by the little kids from the neighbors when they wanted to play PlayStation. And the bedroom was dull as well. So I knew Vicky quite well. She's a good friend, and I knew that this did not really reflect her as a family. It did not reflect, their activities and their ideals. So what we did, we opened up the space, removed everything that was quite dull, put in everything that's light and easy to use, with a lot of extra seating for family and friends. Put back a little bit of the religious ideals that Saeed had. So again, we created this custom-made Kufic canvas and gave them plenty of comfortable seatings. This is the TV room now, where they could have more and more friends. And their bedroom, which they specifically wanted like a hotel feel-like. So really a sanctuary. The last household I'm sharing with you is my own. So this is my husband Maher and my 2 kids. Maher is a TV and film director. And his father was a very famous songwriter. So we knew we wanted to bring together, the designer in me, the director in him, and that art and calligraphy and, our love for books. So this is the space I created for our home, our sanctuary. Quite neutral, modern, but with a little bit of injection of color here and there. And I used one of his father's writings as a wallpaper. It's the first thing that you see when you come in. These, for example, belong to my grandmother, and they are clocks that you are given once you are married. They're very Damascus Levant as well, so I decided to frame them and just put them in there as a reminder of her. She had passed away 3 years ago. And in our dining room, I put all those little trinket boxes that I have saved from different travels. So I don't collect magnets, nor do I collect the shot glasses. I like to collect trinket boxes. And again, our master bedroom, my little daughter's room, lots of IKEA. And my son's bedroom, where I created this wall out of just black tape, just to make it a little bit more interactive. And a little bit of a TV area upstairs where we just sit TV at the end of the night. And finally, our home. So what I wanted to ask you at the end, if branding is putting symbols, and putting these symbols in visuals and words and through things that we hear, are we branding our homes correctly? If we are branding ourselves in our clothes and shoes and designer cars or different cars, are we branding our homes correctly? This is what I will leave you with. If you are branding your homes, do it well and tell your story well. Thank you very much.